Hello everyone, welcome to NCERT 6 to 10 class in short. Today we will be discussing the first chapter of Grade 7 History, Tracing Changes Through 1,000 Years, Part 3. We will be discussing about medieval period in India in this textbook. Let's recall what we have learned already. Historians get information about the past through different means. They rely on coins, inscriptions, architecture, and textual records to gain information. Historians face many challenges while learning about the past. While examining the maps, as the science of cartography was different in different periods, they looked dissimilar. We have made a comparison of two maps drawn by Al-Idrisi and the second one by a French cartographer in the beginning of the chapter. The languages used for writing were different in different periods. The difference exists not only in grammar and vocabulary but also in the meanings of the words. The same word may be used with different meanings at different periods. Paper became cheaper during the 14th century and hence historians depended more on textual records to learn about the past. Records may be revised at times. This again became a challenge as historians may be unaware of the first original edition written by the original author. A large scale and variety of developments occurred during the period of 700 to 1700 CE. New technologies like Persian wheel, spinning wheel, and firearms appeared during this period. New food items like potatoes, corn, chilies, tea, and coffee also arrived on the subcontinent. Along with the social, economic, political, and cultural developments, a greater number of people started to travel in search of opportunities for getting a job too. Rajputs were a group of people who became popular during those times. Later, the name was applied to a group of warriors who claimed Kshatriya caste status. Other groups like Marathas, Sikhs, Jats, Ahoms, and Kayasthas also became politically important during this time. There was a gradual clearance of forest into agrarian lands. Forest dwellers migrated somewhere, but some among them became peasants and became a part of the larger complex societies of those periods. There arose significant social and economic differences among the peasants. As societies became more differentiated, people were grouped into jatis or subcastes. Subcastes framed many rules and regulations which the people had to follow. Besides, people had to follow the rules of the village chieftains too. Now let's move on to today's class. Region and empire. Large states like Cholas, Tughlaqs, and Mughals encompassed or held many regions. Encompassing means capturing or holding within many regions. Cholas, let's begin with Cholas. Cholas or Chola dynasty was a Tamil empire and one of the longest ruling dynasties in the world. You will be learning about them in chapter 2. And you can see Chola territory in blue color and the Chola's influence in pink color in this map. That means they have influenced that much area during those times. Now you can see the map of Tughlaq dynasty. Tughlaq dynasty was a Muslim dynasty of Turkic origin which ruled over the Delhi Sultanate in medieval India. You will be learning more about the Tughlaq dynasty in the third chapter of this textbook. And you can see green colored portion. That means the influence of Tughlaq dynasty in this map. These all regions were captured or encompassed by the Tughlaq dynasty during those times. Next you can see the Mughal Empire here. Mughal Empire was an early modern empire that controlled much of South Asia between 16th and 19th century. That means they have ruled up to more than 200 years in India. That means in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, see the map, that pale green color. We can see the influence of Mughal dynasty during those times. You will be learning about Mughal dynasty in the fourth chapter of this textbook. Now, a Sanskrit Prashasti. Prashasti means it's a genre of Indian inscriptions where the poets will be praising the rulers. So, one such Sanskrit Prashasti praising Delhi Sultan Ghiyasuddin Balban explained that he was the ruler of a vast empire that stretched from Bengal, at times it was Gauda, in the east to Ghazni Gajjana in Afghanistan in the west, and included all of South India, Dravida. So, from the Prashasti we can conclude that the Balban had that much influence, and so people of different regions of Gauda, Andhra, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Gujarat fled before his armies. Historians regard the claiming of this Balban as exaggerated claims of conquest. At the same time, the historians tried to understand why rulers kept claiming to have control over different parts of the subcontinent. Why the rulers are saying that they have conquered this region, that region in that way. What is the reason? So why do you think rulers made such claims that they have conquered this region, that region in that way? Because rulers made such claims to show their power in front of the other dynasties. That means they had to show their power. Okay, this dynasty is more powerful than that dynasty. That was the competition between the dynasties. So they made such claims. Actually, these claims about Balban was an exaggerated one. Exaggerated means something that is more than what is there, what was there. In 1318, poet Amir Khusro noted that there was a different language in every region of this land. That means different languages were in different part of the country. Sindhi, Lahori, Kashmiri, Dwarsamudri in southern Karnataka, Telangani in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarati in Gujarat, Mahabari in Tamil Nadu and Gauri in Bengal, Awadhi in eastern Uttar Pradesh and Hindavi in the area around Delhi. Amir Khusro went on to explain that in contrast to these languages, there was Sanskrit, which did not belong to any region. It was an old language and common people do not know it, only the Brahmins do. Now you have an activity. See the list of languages made by Amir Khusro. Make another list of languages spoken in these regions today. So shall we move on to that? Let's see what are the languages spoken in these states today. Now let's see what are the modern languages. So Amir Khusro talked about Sindhi. Sindhi is now a scheduled language. It lacks state level status and is a prominent minority language in Rajasthan. Lahori was spoken in province of Punjab, and now in Punjab they are talking Punjabi. Kashmiri is there in Kashmir. Dwarsamudri was the language of southern Karnataka. Now it is Kannada. Telangani is now known as Telugu and Gujarati is now known as Gujarati. Then about Mahabari. Mahabari has changed it to Tamil. Gauri was spoken in Bengal and now it is Bengali. Awadhi is spoken in the Awadh region of Uttar Pradesh now. Hindavi is now known as Hindi, Urdu in that way. So in this way, the languages at the times of Amir Khusro had changed to these modern languages. By 700, many regions already possessed distinct geographical dimensions and their language and cultural characteristics. They were also associated with specific ruling dynasties. There were considerable conflicts between these states. Occasionally, dynasties like the Cholas, Khaljis, Tughlaqs and Mughals were able to build a pan-region spanning diverse regions. So, what do you mean by a pan-region that we will be discussing? You can see the map of Mughal region in this picture. Okay, so a pan-region means a geographic region or state's sphere of economic, political and cultural influence extending beyond that state borders. That means beyond that state border, their influence will be extended. For example, in the present situation, the pan region of the USA includes the USA and its close neighbors including Canada, Mexico and many South America states. Okay, so in that way, pan region existed in the times of the Mughal period. So similarly, you can see the Khaljis, Cholas, Tughlaqs and Mughals had many pan regions that were spanning or bridged many diverse regions. So spanning means bridging. So the dynasties like Khaljis, Cholas, Tughlaqs and Mughals had many pan regions. But not all these empires were equally stable or successful. For example, the duration of the Khalji dynasty was only 30 years, while that of the Mughal empire was more than 2 centuries. That means 235 years. When the Mughal Empire declined in the 18th century, it led to the re-emergence of many regional states, but years of imperial pan-regional rule had altered the character of these regions. Across most of the subcontinent, the regions were left with the legacies of the big and small states that had ruled over them. This was clear in the emergence of many distinct and shared traditions in the realms of governance, the management of the economy, elite cultures and language. Through these 1000 years between 700 and 1750, the character of different regions did not grow in isolation. These regions felt the impact of larger pan-regional forces of integration without quite ever losing their distinct distinctiveness. That means even some isolated regions were there, they did not felt any isolation because they were pan-region of some other regions. So they did not felt that isolation. We have a little more to go. The rest we will be learning in the next video. Until then, bye. Thank you.